Hello, welcome to the channel. Today we got another edition of our tips and tricks, and one of the opportunities I wanted to highlight was how can someone go ahead and get started learning Logic Apps, and more specifically Agent Loop. And so this was an opportunity for me to really sort of showcase what are some learning materials out there, and I'll show you a demo as well. What you do see on screen here is a recent photo from Gothenburg, Sweden, where I did present or lead the Logic Apps Agent in a Day workshop hosted by Contica. Thank you, Contica, once again for hosting that. But that's going to be one of the key sort of themes here, or opportunities that I describe, is how we can actually use this Logic Apps Agent in a Day workshop in order to actually get some hands-on experience with Logic Apps and Agent Loop. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. So as I mentioned, this is a question I get asked quite often, is how do I get started with Agent Loops? And I do think that the answer is quite simple. Start with Logic Apps Agent in a Day. It's a great way to get started. It's a published free step-by-step workshop. It's available at aka.ms/LA Agent in a Day. I'll include that link in the description of this video. Now, as part of this workshop, you will go ahead and build an IT service management conversational agent that's going to talk to ServiceNow. Now, this isn't the only piece of content that we have up on this particular website. We have some other getting started experiences as well. And so these are some additional labs that kind of complement what you'll learn in Agent in a Day. These labs are actually put together by many of our engineers that worked on these specific features. So you're not getting any closer to the people that actually built the capabilities that you're going to be learning about. So that's pretty cool. And it's going to cover some topics about conversational agents, autonomous agents, extending agents, and then the multi-agent and handoff scenarios as well, which is pretty cool. All right, so what can we expect? So once again, here's the link to the particular content. You're going to see a website that looks a lot like this. And here we can see there's a series of different modules that are included. And also do want to shout out to Leon Glaz, who is a cloud solution architect at Microsoft Canada, who also helped put a lot of this content together. So thanks, Leon, for your contributions as well. But here you're going to see there's an introduction. As part of the introduction, there also is a instructor slide deck. So if you're a partner and you want to be able to run this workshop with your customers, there's some materials there that can help you out from that perspective. Then we'll get into some of the prerequisites. And there's not a whole lot that you do need here. We do need a Logic App standard instance naturally that requires a storage account. Then we also need access to an OpenAI model as well. And then that's pretty much it. We are going to go ahead and use those different resources to actually build our solution. I should have said there's also one other piece, which is pretty important. ServiceNow. Now you can go ahead, and we provide instructions here on setting up a free developer instance of ServiceNow. So you'll have your own instance of ServiceNow, which is actually quite cool, and just something that you can get more experience with ServiceNow. You don't have to have any prior experience. It's not too difficult to get all of that going. From there, we'll actually provision a Logic App. We'll actually go ahead and create a conversational agent. We'll create some subsequent tools that we can actually go ahead and leverage. That'll help us create an incident, update an incident, and close an incident. Now we have a bonus challenge at the end of the content, the workshop, that allows you to send an email. So that's something that you can kind of do self-service yourself. So that's a little bit of background on what you're going to go ahead and create. Now it's always nice to see that in action. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick demo. All right, so here is a look at the agent workflow that we're going to go ahead and create. We can see here that it starts with our A2A trigger. So this is going to be a conversational agent. We've got our agent loop configuration. Here we're using GPT-4.1. It does work with 5 as well. That's just what we've used. It's a little bit quicker. And then here we've just got our prompt that is just going to discuss its role And in this case, the agent is going to be an IT operations agent that's going to help manage IT incidents. Now, what's really important here is this concept of like knowledge. And so here we've got a tool that's called Get Operational Runbook. So we're going to provide some instructions on basically retrieving that and then being able to share sort of the plan and the details related to that. So as part of the lab, we do get you to upload this Word doc, which is available as part of the content, to a blob storage, and then be able to go ahead and retrieve it. Now, if we take a closer look at this document, we can kind of see what its structure is all about. So we outline a general process, and that process is just like, hey, we use ServiceNow as our ITSM solution. We need to make sure every issue is logged. We need to create a ticket, update a ticket, close a ticket, send a summary of issues and its status via email to stakeholders. Now, what the intent here is, like, we've got almost like this run book that categorizes or catalogs a series of different like errors. And so the idea here is that if you get a request for saying, hey, how do I get access to a particular database, that should be like a severity 2, and that should have an SLA or an estimated time to resolution of 4 hours and some recommended steps. So nothing overly too complex or foreign here. But this kind of dictates some of the behavior of the agent itself, because it's going to use this information when providing recommendations and logging the correct severity. So we've got a bunch of different categories. The one that we're going to talk about is more about a database being offline, but you kind of get the point. The whole idea is here, how do we leverage sort of our existing knowledge, our existing documentation to complement our agent and a public model like GPT-4.1 to actually give it more capabilities and allow it to do more interesting things. So that's part of that piece here. And then what we've got is you'll go ahead and create some child workflows. And these child workflows are just going to have some pretty simple inputs, and those will then get mapped to the ServiceNow connector and the appropriate operation around creating a record, updating a record, closing a record. Then the last piece that we're going to show is this send an email. And so this has to do with updating stakeholders. Now, there is one thing I do want to highlight here. This is not really part of the labs, but I think this is kind of a bonus. And that's just to do with on behalf of OBO type connections. So when we create a connection here, what we can do is actually click on this create as a per user connection. And what's going to happen is when this actually runs, it's going to run from the logged in user itself, which is going to come from our chat session. So I'm going to kind of leave it there as is, because I do plan on having another tips and tricks on OBO, but I did want to just call that out. That's an important capability to go ahead and to look for. So I think we're now ready to go ahead and run this. And what we'll do is we'll just head over to our A2A chat. So you can also access this by just clicking on chat. And we've got a new session. You can have multiple sessions going on. This was one that I was using previously to test. You can rename these, you can delete them. So it's pretty flexible from that perspective. So we're going to walk up to this particular agent and say my database appears to be offline. So our agent's going to get this particular request. It's going to leverage all of our knowledge and our system prompt and say, okay, I know what I can do with this. It seems like you've got an issue. Now I'm going to go ahead and log an issue as well based upon the operational runbook. Now it is asking for us to provide an assignment group. In this case, we're going to say database. And that will be part of our call. When we log this ticket, it should show up in the database group itself. So here it's gone ahead and it's leveraged our operational runbook. It's determined, because we have a database offline, that this is a severity 1, it's critical, and that there should be an estimated time to resolution of 1 hour. And then it's giving some recommended steps on how a support person could go ahead and address this. Now, we do have a ticket that's created here, so 181 it ends in, so keep that in mind. Towards the end of the demo, we'll head over to ServiceNow and go check that out. So, the IT service operations person has been kind of working with the database team, and they have an update. And so now we can go ahead and update this ticket. So we're just going to say the database team has identified a root cause, and they anticipate the database to be back online in 30 minutes. So here we see that the agent's gone ahead and updated that ticket, so we'll go ahead and validate that in a little while. Now the last step is our database team has done some good work and they've sort of addressed the issue. And so here what we're going to go ahead and do is just provide some instructions for this particular ticket. Go ahead and close it out, update the ticket with this status, and then go ahead and send an email to stakeholders. So we'll just go ahead and click on that, and we should see here shortly that that is taken care of for us. So it's been closed with the following resolution. Now if we head over to my email inbox, we can see that I've just received an email. It came from myself because it was using that on behalf of authentication, and we've got a ticket that has been resolved. So if there's other stakeholders, naturally we could include those folks as well. So let's head over to ServiceNow and we'll go ahead and find our incident. We'll just remove a couple filters here. And here we go. Here's our incident that ended in 183. So we can see first off, we've got the database group that it was assigned to correctly. We can also see that it's in a closed state, so that looks promising as well. And then if we scroll down, we can see basically this audit trail, right? So we started off where we created the incident, and then we can see that there was an update, right? So that's taken place, and then now we see that it's been closed. So we've gone ahead and addressed all of those needs. Now, one other thing just to show is that we do have this notion of run history, and this is going to basically capture all of the steps that took place. So when you go ahead and use this content, you'll be in here, you'll be able to go ahead and follow the breadcrumbs to figure out exactly what's happening and do any sort of troubleshooting. What's kind of neat, I find, is this agent log is basically a replay of our conversation. And as we go through this, we can go ahead and see the tools that were called, right? So here, when it got the operational run book, and then it sent some information back here, it went ahead and called that create ServiceNow tool. And we can see exactly sort of what was sent back and forth. And we can see all of the inputs, we can see all of the outputs, the ticket number, etc. And this applies for the rest of the use case as well. So that's an overview of Agent in a Day using Azure Logic Apps. Go ahead and check it out. We continue to update this based on the sort of latest investments in the service and the product. So go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching this video.